So in this video, I'm gonna show you 2 ways that you can get real estate for no money down. Now, I'm sure we've all heard the infomercials, the social media posts, the ads of people claiming that they're buying properties with no money down. Now, that is absolutely true. It can't happen. But I'm gonna show you 2 ways that you can acquire properties with no money out of your own pocket. All right, let's get into it. So the first way is becoming a wholesaler. Okay, now what's a wholesaler? A wholesaler is someone that goes out and finds a distressed property under market value, takes that property, gets under contract, and sell that contract to an investor, to another buyer. So basically you are buying low and selling low. All right. For example, if you find a property that's worth $300,000, right? The after repair value, the ARV, is $300K, right? ARV stands for after repair value. That means that the property is worth this much in good turnkey condition. Okay, so property is worth $300,000. You get it for $100,000. That means you have $200,000 in equity in a property, right? You purchased it low, and then you're going to sell it lower for a wholesale fee. Now, what's a wholesale fee? A wholesale fee is basically how you get paid. So if that property is worth $300K, you buy it for $100K, and say the repairs are $50,000, right? So all in, you're at $150. So the repair costs will be paid for by the buyer, right? Not you, the buyer. So $150 is the all in. So that means that you still have $150 in equity left over. Now your wholesale fee can be whatever the margin allows, right? So typically it's from 5 to 10 grand, but sometimes it goes up higher depending on where you are in the US. So say that you have a wholesale fee of $10,000. That means now you're into it $160. You purchased it for $100,000. The repair cost is $50K, and then your wholesale fee is $10K. That's the money that goes in your pocket. So you're into it $160. Now there's a potential of $140 still left in that property, $140K. Now this is how much that the buyer would acquire in equity once they buy it from you. Okay, so this is important. All right. So when you buy a property or get a property under contract from the buyer, the seller, it's important that if you're not a licensed realtor, that you do not represent yourself as selling that property. What you're doing is that you are selling the contract, not the property. All right, be careful because you can get in trouble for this. Okay, you are selling the contract, the piece of paper. Right. So once you have that, then you flip that to a potential buyer, and then they come in with their money to close escrow. Nothing came from you, right? That buyer, you're selling the contract, and then that contract goes into escrow. And at that point, that buyer will use their funds to come in and pay off the $160, the $100,000 to actually it'd be $110 at this point, the $100,000 to the seller that you found, the $10K wholesale fee that you have, and then that $50K will be pushed over to them to use that money to rehab the property. So they'll bring in $110 to cash out you and your seller, right? So that's wholesaling, right? So wholesaling is where most new investors come in and start their journey in real estate, their career. Wholesaling is by far the easiest way to come in and acquire property or contracts with no money down, right? And if by chance there's some strange reason that you have a seller that wants money up front, you already have a list of buyers that you can go to that can give you that money to put down or a deposit to put down on the property, right? So if your seller requires that you come in with $1,000 in earnest money deposit, that money will come from your buyer, not you. All right, makes sense? So why do people sell their properties for a discount, as distressed? Several reasons. One is someone died in the family and they inherited this property. They can be out of state. They don't want nothing to do with the property. They just want to get rid of it. So they will sell it at a discount. Secondly, someone can be going through a divorce. Let's just liquidate. Thirdly, someone can be ill. Fourthly, someone could be moving out of state. There are so many reasons that a property can be distressed. Now, distress does not mean that the house is always in bad condition. Those are the best ones. But the house can be distressed, or the actual owner can be in distress, right? It's a little difference. But either way, wholesaling real estate is one of the ways that you can get into the business without having any of your own money, and then still go out and make an amazing income off this. All right, number two way that you can get in real estate without having any of your own money. The second one is called a lease option. All right, now this is a little more detailed than wholesaling. Wholesaling is really more upfront, and wholesaling is that you're in and out of transaction with no responsibilities after it's done. So lease options will require you to have more responsibilities as the investor, because with this one, you are you're more responsible for the property versus doing wholesaling. Now, lease options is a way for you to acquire a property without coming in with any of your own money or having to come in and get a new loan. So you can own properties without having to go and get your own financing. Okay, that's how it works. So you find a homeowner who really wants to sell their property, but they can't, right? Either one, because they're the most popular one is because they don't have enough equity in their property to sell. So they have to move, they have a job transfer, they're going through divorce, whatever it is, right? They want to sell or need to sell, not want to, but need to sell, but they can't. There's not enough money in the property to pay realtor fees, to pay escrow fees, to do whatever, right? It's not enough. So what you do is say, hey, you know what, Mr. Homeowner, I can come in and I can lease your property with the option to buy, right? What does that mean? That means that if the homeowner owes $300,000, just keep that, they own $300,000 on that property, but the property at this time is worth $310,000, right? Only $10,000 in equity in that property. They can't sell that property without coming out of pocket to pay all the fees. So what you do is say, hey, you know what? I will lease this property with the option to buy it for how much? For what you owe, for $300K, right? $300K, I will lease options property for 5 years. So for 5 years, you are responsible for paying that mortgage, for making sure the property is upkept, and for finding someone to live there. So you can live there, or you can find what's called a tenant buyer. So here's how it looks. All right, the property is you have a contract for $300K between you and the owner or the seller. All right. So what you do is once that contract is locked up, and once you have that, what you do is go out there and buy and find a tenant buyer. So say that $300K is what you're buying property for, and the mortgage on that $300K is $2,000 a month, right? $300K, $2K a month. This is how much you're paying the original owner for the property. $300K, $2,000 a month. So what you do is that you project, and you know in 5 years the property is going to be worth this much. So in 5 years the real estate will increase maybe 2% a year, right? For example. So say in 5 years that property is now worth, say for example, $375, right? Now it's worth $310. In 5 years it's worth $375,000, right? If you're in California, a lot higher. So your tenant buyer, you bring them to the table and say, hey, you know what? I have a property that you can now lease option to buy from me. So you are lease optioning the property from the original owner, and then you're going to lease option the property to a tenant buyer. That tenant buyer is going to come in and pay you $375 in 5 years for that property. Okay, so that $375 now. Remember, you're paying $2,000 per month to the owner on that property. What you do is that you turn around and charge $2,500 a month for that property to the tenant buyer. You get $500 in cash flow every single month, right? You're paying $2,000, you're charging $2,500, $500 cash flow, right? And then in 5 years, you're going to cash out the original buyer $310,000, right? $310. The tenant buyer is going to get a mortgage in 5 years and pay you $375,000, right? So that means you made $65,000 in 5 years on that property. But here's something that's also special about this. That tenant buyer pays you an option deposit, right? So they give you a portion of that $375,000 up front. So typically it's $10,000. Before you move into this house, I need $10,000 down payment from you for this property. So yeah, that comes off the asking price. So now they owe you $365,000, but you get $10,000 up front or whatever you negotiate up front, right? So you put cash in your pocket, you get cash flow, and then in 5 years you cash out and make $55,000 extra. So in that time that the homeowner that you're paying off the mortgage for the homeowner, the original owner, you are paying down that mortgage, right? So as you're paying down that mortgage, then that puts more equity into your pocket, right? So that's the beauty of lease options. Now, you are responsible for making sure that that tenant buyer pays their rent, right? So if something happens and they don't pay, you do have to initiate an eviction. Just like if you don't pay the original homeowner, they have to evict you, right? So lease options are a little more detailed, you have more responsibility, and there's more liability on your part, but it's a great way to create cash flow every single month and also get some upfront money and then cash into whatever the lease option term is. All right, I hope that makes sense. Now, again, there are two ways, there are more than two, but I talked about two ways that you can make money in real estate without having any of your own money up front. And these things actually work. I've done them over and over and over and over again. Now, if you want to learn more about wholesaling, down in the description, there is a link to a course that I have that can teach you how you can get started in real estate by wholesaling. All right. Hope this was helpful. Any questions, please comment, like, share. Talk to you soon.